Hello everyone, this is Taxman, and as you can see from my surroundings, I am back home again in Indiana from my month-long trip away in California. Now for today's episode, I'm not going to say much other than, but I will read off some statistics from this trip. So, this was from the morning of Sunday, April 26th, when I left home around 4:30 in the morning, until May the 30th. I got back home at 2 a.m. and I drove the entire trip. So from here in central Indiana all the way out to California and back. Now, the farthest west I went was out to San Francisco. The highest I was at was crossing over the Rocky Mountains on the I-70 on the way back. I went up some really tall peaks up there. It was so tall that the car was even having some trouble going up those mountains. Total distance I drove on this trip was 5,538.8 miles, with the odometer at the end reading 116,720, which means that since I got this car last July, I've put 10,000 miles on it. I mostly drove straight through, except to make stops in Colorado, both there and back. The first time through, I stopped at Boulder for 3 nights, and the second time I stopped at Denver. Contrary to my fears, I actually did not gain any weight. So when I weighed myself the day after getting back, I was 121.6 pounds, which means at most I only gained a single pound after all that drinking and hearty food I ate out there. And speaking of drinking, I visited quite a few breweries on this trip, all local craft breweries. In California, I visited 8 different breweries, and in Colorado, I went to 5. Unfortunately, I did not get to see as many wineries as I would have liked. I only went to 2. But that'll be for next time. I'll go see more wine. Most of the trip I spent with family up in Northern California, in the Sierra foothills area. So I actually spent quite a deal more time out than I would back home, because there's a lot more to see and do out there than in Indiana. So my face is quite a bit considerably tanned. We did get to spend quite a bit of time with family and bonding with Curio, which is of course a really good thing. And I celebrated his birthday out there as well on the 27th. He's either 23 or 24. It's a bit difficult to calculate the pony age with this whole astral void magic time difference thingy. But he is younger than me. I'd say that the best restaurant and bar that I ate at during this entire trip was actually the first stop in Boulder. There was a place called The Kitchen. Great bar, great food. If you ever go there, if you ever stop in Boulder, I highly recommend it. The best brewery I visited in Colorado was definitely Avery Brewery in Boulder. Great place. Fantastic tap. They had about 5 different sours on tap, which is certainly one of my favorite styles of beer, although it's a bit hard to come across and they do tend to be expensive. When I was in California, I spent most of my time actually drinking IPAs, believe it or not. As much as I dislike IPAs back here, I guess because of the weather, I was hankering for something refreshing, and the Californians do IPAs very well. If anybody else other than a Californian says they're trying to do a West Coast style IPA, just smack them across his head. The wine up there in the Sierra foothills is pretty good as well. I will show off my little collection of loot that I brought back home in future videos when I do up a California brewery report. The amount of money I spent on gas on this trip was too much, and I'm not going to talk about that. I did quite a lot of driving, and quite a lot of driving when I was actually over there. It's fun to drive out there, of course, because lots of hills, lots of windy roads, so you can go fast. And speaking of that, I did get to hit some very fast speeds out there on the lonely roads in the desolate deserts in the west. Driving out from Boulder, I took the 40. I got off the interstate and I took one of the state roads. I took the highways. I took Highway 40 to get from Boulder up until Salt Lake City area, where I got onto the 80. And the 40 is a lot of fun, a lot of really windy paths up tall mountains, and then going through western Colorado is fun. And then on the way back, I took the 50, which goes past Lake Tahoe, and in Nevada it's called the loneliest road, and for good reason, because it's out there in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of nowhere in the desert, and you cross through about 12 different mountain ranges. And the entire time I was out there, I only saw about 3 cops, which was good because there were a few parts where I was hitting 110 miles an hour as I went down those hills. So there was no place else that I would ever think about daring to go that fast. But it was worth it. It was worth it. Overall, though, I'd say that I enjoyed driving on the 40 more than the 50. Now, as far as interstates go, the I-70, once you join it in Utah where it terminates, up until you get to Denver, before you hit all the Great Plains and everything, that's a lot of fun. The I-70 along that route is like the Disneyland of interstate highways. It's just so much fun to drive, so windy, and so many mountains, and some really cool spots where they're just where either lane of traffic's one above each other, and you're just hugging along the cliff sides of a mountain on one side, rapid, like whitewater rapid river on the other. It's fantastic scenery, great fun to drive. I'm trying to think if I am forgetting anything. I did not really write down a lot of notes this time. Yeah, that would probably about do it for now. As I said, this is more just a basic hello, let you all know that I'm back, and I'm in one piece and preparing for the next big thing that will come up, which is in 2 months. It will be BronyCon, the trip out to Baltimore. Good old Baltimore. There's the big pony convention. And after that, we'll do some road tripping before coming back to Indiana, and on to other things. So look forward to hear from me again soon. I do plan on doing some regular wine tasting videos. I'll probably try to do those on Tuesday, because I'm going to set Tuesday as my designated wine tasting day, as I try to set a more regular schedule for tasting and recording and drinking days to cut back and stuff like that. Well then, thank you for tuning in, and you'll hear from me again soon. Good night.